She made a commitment to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I'm your host, Matt Smith, the founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate. As a reminder, this podcast is a movement to give back to this industry has given so much to me and my family. And I feel like I say this every episode, but this one, I mean it a little bit more. This episode, you're going to want to sit down, you're going to want to take notes, and this is going to impact everyone that chooses to listen. I've got a very, very special guest here with me, someone that committed to doing a crazy challenge, and she even blew herself away with what she was able to accomplish. One of my amazing agents on my team, Jeanette Richardson. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Matt.
You have absolutely earned the right to be here today. And what she has done, just so you guys understand, is she made a commitment to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days as an agent on a team. I don't know any other agents on a team that have done that. As a matter of fact, maybe I'm wrong, but I only know of two other people. I only know three people on the planet that have set 30 listing appointments in 30 days in a challenge where they made a public declaration, they followed through, they committed to it. And Jeanette is one of those individuals, and so am I. And so we're going to unpack for you today the lessons that Jeanette learned on how she set 30 listing appointments in 30 days. Also, some instant results that surprised her. We actually talked about it this morning of that challenge of that she actually got instant gratification from this challenge, which was not something she expected. We're going to unpack the mindset of why she wanted to do it, why that was impactful, how she stuck through it, and then also, how did she do it? How in the world do you set 30 listed appointments in 30 days? So without further ado, let's dive in. Let's get to the good stuff. So Jeanette, I want to start here. Why in the world would you do something as crazy as say out loud in front of people, I'm going to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days?
So you actually went over this. We do the quarterly town hall meeting and then the quarterly go to the board. And your big theme last quarter was identity and turning your thermostat up. Don't turn your thermostat down just to make everybody else happy and feel comfortable. Being comfortable is the worst thing possible. Being uncomfortable is where you really grow. So that was huge for me. Perfect timing, just everything. And then at town hall, one of our awesome agents actually won 2 awards, and it was just based all on contribution and just being like a valuable member of the team. And that hit me because I'm like, man, I'm just average on this team because we do have so many amazing people. So for me, it was, all right, what can I do to give back? What can I do to help our agents more? So that was huge for me. And then that's where going into the contribution, just helping our agents.
I love it. And we'll unpack some of that. Some people may be listening. You wanted to help other people, so you did a challenge? That doesn't make sense. But it absolutely does as we unpack it. And something I wanted to share is that Jeanette has shared a couple of times with me that the conversations that we've had around who do you identify as? How is your identity? And her thermostat reference is actually from that meeting. We actually made a podcast out of that speech that you're talking about. And so I don't know where it's at in the episodes, but it was 2-ish months ago. So go back and find it. It's about identity and thermostat if you want to understand what helped Jeanette propel to this. And a brief summary is that I got it from Ed Milet, so I didn't create it. I just kind of applied it to our business, to real estate, and just to from my own knowledge as well as what he has shared the principle of most people operate at a thermostat and they get to a certain point of success in real estate. Where I would relate it to is you have Jeanette how many homes did you close in 2024? 40? I think it was 40.
35, I think.
Okay, 35 or 40, which is significant. That is like top notch, right? But what is really cool about our environment is that she, at 35 closings in 2024, felt like she was mediocre. To use her words, she shared with me yesterday. What she said today was average, which is really just like amazing, first and foremost, of the environment that we have here. But also, what she realized was that she knows that she can do more than 35, and she left some on the table, and she has more potential to grow. And what she did was she made a choice and say that her temperature, her thermostat, she set it at 35. And when she would get to a pace of she had more pendings than to get to 35 and say she was on a 40 or 45 pace, she would subconsciously turn her thermostat down. She would turn on the air conditioner because it was getting too hot and I'm getting too uncomfortable. And so that's the gist of the analogy. Go back and listen to that podcast for the full episode and the details on it. But what Jeanette made a decision on is she is now adjusting her thermostat and her ceiling isn't 35 anymore. She's going to now identify someone that runs at 45 or 50 or what was your number was 50 for 25, right?
55.
55. There you go. And so that's her new thermostat. And so what also happens in the opposite, if she is now operating at a 35, she's going to also subconsciously turn up the heat and she's going to raise herself to a 55 because she changed her mindset and she identified as someone that can do those things. And most importantly, she identified it for herself and she really did some self-reflection and said that was the right timing for me to hear that message because that was a choice I wanted to make in my life. And that's the impact is that that was a choice that she made. And Jeanette is the type of person that is very, very disciplined. And when she sets her mind out to do something, she does it. And so she made that commitment. She made it out loud. And then she did the work to make it happen. And so as you were going through that, Jeanette, and you were going through that process, like, where did you start? Like, what was the first thing you thought about of, if I'm going to do this, I need to get in control of my business. Like if someone else is wanting to do something similar, where do they even start?
So, getting control of your business, it starts with your calendar.
Mm,
Um, that's your non negotiable. Put it on your calendar, and you absolutely have to do what you say you're going to do. It's on your calendar. That's what you're doing. Um, and just really just diving into like your prospecting times. For me, while I was doing this challenge, I did morning and then I would do another one around 6 o'clock. So you have some leeway.
yes. So what she said there is so good. How many of us have things on our calendar that are a great idea, and we treat our calendar as a vision board instead of an accountability partner? If you adjust your mindset, if you put it on your calendar and you actually stick to it, and let's talk about identity, and now you become someone who identifies as someone who keeps your promises and your commitments to yourself, the only thing that will change is everything. It's really that simple. And if you don't get that part, the rest of the stuff that we're going to share with you and the rest of the tactics and the strategies, they just aren't. Will they work? They might have a small impact, but they won't have the full impact that they could because it starts with you internally. And it starts with I'm going to make a commitment. I'm going to be disciplined enough to say no to the things that don't serve my commitment so I can say yes to the things that actually matter. And too many of us treat prospecting or follow up, or in our company, we talk about 2 hours, protect your 2 hours, right? 1 hour prospecting, 1 hour follow up. Give me 2 hours a day of head down. I'm working and growing my business. And if you don't protect those 2 hours become, I'll do it later. Later becomes tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes never. And it's really easy to fall in that trap. And if you're like, if you're struggling with like the prospecting part of that analogy, let's do it with health and fitness. How many of us make that excuse of, I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'll do that workout tomorrow. I'll eat healthy tomorrow. There's a quote that I have. It's very simple, but I say to myself all the time, and it is remember tomorrow. Remember tomorrow. And very simply, what it means is when I wake up tomorrow morning and I look at my calendar for the day, am I going to be like excited and ready to take on the day? Or am I going to wake up and be like, fuck, I screwed up yesterday. And now look at all of this makeup work that I have to do because I didn't do what I was supposed to do yesterday. And then I procrastinate more. And then I become overwhelmed. And then I panic and then I freeze. And then I start giving up on my dreams. And then I start giving up on my goals. And then I start questioning, can I even do it? All because I didn't keep my simple promises and commitments to myself yesterday. And so, like, I'm staying here and going deep there because what Jeanette shared is like, if you don't master that part and you don't have an honest conversation with yourself and you don't do the hard things to stick that out, the rest of the tactics that we're going to give you are not going to have the impact that they could have. Jeanette, anything to add there?
Just really just calendar consistency. For me personally, that was the most difficult part of the challenge. Um, just sticking to your calendar.
Yep. And it's most difficult for everyone if they're honest with themselves, right? Because we can always find an excuse. We can always find something else to do. We can always scroll through TikTok or Facebook or whatever, right? There's always
And
something.
there's always a fire. There's always,
Oh, don't even get me started. All right, I'm going to say it. Real estate agents, you aren't fucking firefighters, right? Stop trying to save the world and go create more business. And I promise your fires will go away. You're not a firefighter. Quit using that as a crutch and excuse for you to not do the productive shit you know you're supposed to do. All right, I said it. Um, Jeanette knows how to poke the bear. All right. So anyway, time management, calendar consistency, absolutely. And it's actually it reminds me of something that Brian Danny, who was our coach for a long time, still a really good friend and love the guy to death, and he learned so much from him. One of the things that he said is that his number one superpower is calendar consistency. And then I also I said it earlier, but he treats his calendar as his accountability partner. And if you live your life that way, and if it's on your calendar, it has to be done. A lot less shit will be on your calendar, number one. And number two, the progress that you'll make in your life will be night and day difference. All right. So once we have that stuff, Jeanette, we have that in place. What's next? What does someone do that wants to do this challenge and they want to get some momentum in their business? They want to set listing appointments specifically. What do they do?
one, I don't know which one will come first.
It's all right. Let's work through it together.
Know your scripting. Not every lead that comes in is going to be the same conversation. So that probably comes first. Know your scripts. Know what conversations you're going to have with each source because they're not going to be the same. And then, of course, knowing where to go. I learned our systems phenomenally during this, and that was
I want
such a
to
huge
stop you
part for
right
me.
there. You did a presentation to the team, which is where this podcast came from, and it was so brilliant and so good. And you would put that on one of your slides, and it still amazes me. How long? Let's unpack this for the listeners. How long have you been on the team?
Oh goodness, over 3 years.
Over 3 years. How long have we had the systems in place?
About 3 years.
Okay. And has Jeanette been successful on the team over those 3 years?
I have.
Extremely. And just now, you feel like you learned the systems.
And I think a lot of it, I felt so much more organized during this. Already knowing where to go and stuff. It's just, say you have an hour time block for your prospecting, but you're spending 30 minutes trying to figure out where to go. Just, it just
Yep.
is so much more organized.
Rule number one, your prospecting doesn't start till you pick up the phone. Just because you say I'm prospecting, this is my power hour. Power hour means the phone is fucking ringing. Not, hey, I'm trying to find people to call. That's not power hour. So let's just reset those expectations now for everyone. Second is I want to really unpack, like, I'm not trying to pick on Jeanette. I'm just trying to bring some awareness to everyone so everyone understands. Jeanette, just so you know, Jeanette shows up every single day. She is at virtually every single meeting, virtually every single role play, every single lunch and learn. She's one of the most committed and people that shows up on the team. And so I'm not picking on her for not knowing the systems. She knew the systems. She uses the systems at a very high level. But her doing this challenge and showing up for herself every single day, committed to this challenge, she realized that she probably only knew about 20% of the systems. And now her business will change forever. She will be able to work less, more efficient, and more effective because she was committed enough to show up every single day and dive into the systems where now she has become, I don't want to say an expert because her and technology don't really get along. But even somebody that is technologically challenged like Jeanette can use the systems at a very, very high level. And the only thing that changed, how many trainings did we do on systems during those 30 days?
Not a single
Oh,
training in
none,
those 30 days.
none. Because what happens is we trick ourselves and we think we need to be trained more. We think we need more training. No, you need more action. You need to apply the training that you've already had. Because we've trained on those systems once a week for 3 years, right? Like it's there, but you don't learn until you do. And so
Yep.
the awareness that you have around that, I wanted to really slow that down so everyone can understand. Like I think it's so powerful that you said you learned our systems, and someone could think, well, she's probably maybe newer, right? Or maybe you have a new system. No, this is 3 years in. But because she stayed committed and disciplined to show up every single day, and she dove into tunnel vision on how can I set an appointment today? Where can I find the best lead? Where can I find the best opportunity? She now knows how to navigate our systems at an extremely high level that is night and day difference from what it was before. Because something that is very interesting to me, Jeanette is always a workhorse and she's always willing to show up and she's always participating and contributing. But an assumption would be, and my assumption was, her effort and her workload had to increase significantly this 30 days versus another 30 days in the year. But in reality, Jeanette, what was the truth? What was your workload like during these 30 days?
It was so much easier um, because calendar consistency, just being more overall organized, knowing where to go, what to say. Um, it was easier. It was just so much easier. And that's why I ended up saying, I'm doing this quarterly.
So good. And I wanted you guys to hear it from her. That's not my words. That's hers. And I'll show you the numbers. We track everything in our business. She probably had less conversations in those 30 days than she did the previous 30 days or the 30 days before that. But she had the right conversations with the right people. And she didn't give up too early. And she pushed through and she asked for the business after she had provided value. I think
And I even,
so many people mistake that they need to work. Hey, I need to do more. I need to work harder. Maybe, maybe. But the things that you are you doing them at the highest level for a consistent basis first? Then maybe we can add more if we need to. But a lot of times we don't need more. We just need consistent. What were you going to say?
um, with our team standard of the 20 conversations a day, while I was doing this 30 listings in 30 days, there were weeks that I struggled hitting the 20. And I was just like, how? I'm setting these appointments. But I still, it was,
Because you weren't calling people just to have a conversation so you could be on lead flow. You were calling people to set a freaking appointment. How crazy is that? We just get stuck in going in the motions and I need to have a conversation. Sure, but why are you having the conversation? I want you to make friends. One of our core values is build relationships. Yes, I want all of that. But also, these people need your help. I want to unpack a situation that I think I overheard recently in our organization. Is as you were going through this challenge, there are some leads that you had found that other agents on our team had conversations with, and great conversations.
yeah. So most of the appointments that I did set were going to be archive pond or the neglected leads pond. And
For
those, that
someone that's
means,
listening that doesn't know what that means, what does that mean?
so those ponds are primarily going to be leads that our agents have spoke with. Archive Pond is they told the agent or somebody that they did not want to sell. That's not on their radar. So they go, archive, don't call them, that type of thing. Um, I called them and I would have a conversation, just ask better questions.
Mm,
Sales skepticism is real. So they hear, oh, real estate agent, they're going to hang up. It's like the shoe store analogy that you use. When you walk into a shoe store and they say, hey, how are you? What are you looking for today? Oh, no, I'm good. That's what's happening. So you're just getting told, nope, not interested. And then you're off the phone and archive pond it goes. But in reality, they are interested. They're just probably in their information gathering stage.
yes.
That's when to help them. Like you need to help them dive in and help them come up with that game plan to make it easy as possible when they are ready.
So good.
Recruiting solves all problems. I heard that from John Cheplack at the first John Cheplack event that I ever went to, and I didn't fully understand what it meant. But I hear it every event that I go to, and guess what? Being able to hang with the top performers in North America, they all believe the same principle. Recruiting does solve all problems. Let's think about it this way. What is easier to do? To get an agent who is a human to change their behavior in the changing marketplace and force them to change, or to bring in new people with new standards, with new activity, new hunger, new drive, and them start seeing results, and then everyone else fall in alignment and want to do the same activities that are producing those results. There's a common thread in the agents and the teams that are winning at high levels. All of them have a recruiting plan. But I think so many of us overcomplicate recruiting. We don't want to cold call. We don't know who to call. We don't know what to say. We get uncomfortable. So I've developed a solution. We've been operating this in my business for 3 years now. It's recruiting funnels that gives you a conveyor belt of recruits that raise their hand and ask if they can join your real estate team. If you're interested in learning more about a lead generation strategy that runs parallel with your real estate business, just how you run buyer and seller business, we can run your recruiting business the same way. Visit 3recruitingfunnelsbuilt.com, 3recruitingfunnelsbuilt.com to learn more.
I say this a lot is that a lot of people have the wrong expectations with what leads are and how real estate really works. And their expectations are, well, Matt, you say you provide leads, and so I called them and they didn't tell me they wanted to sell. What are you talking about? Right? Like we have, and what I tell people too, if you struggle with that, I'm not trying to make fun of you. Let me help you understand how, with all the love and support in the world, how ridiculous that is to think that. When's the last time that you had a phone call from someone that was trying to sell you something? Something that you were trying to buy. Let's say you were going to buy a car and you're looking online for a car and you have to register as a lead. And a car salesman calls you for the car that you found and you talked with your wife or your husband and said, I think this is the one. And they call you. What do you say? You do everything in your power to get them off the phone, even though you've been looking to buy a car and you probably found the one. You don't want to talk to a salesperson. That's the world we live in. And so what you have to be really great at is overcoming that sales skepticism. And most people confuse a sales skepticism with an objection. They're completely different. And you have to understand the difference between the two. And what Jeanette has gotten really, really good at is overcoming that initial skepticism to build trust and build rapport to where she can provide some value. She can give them the information and education that they desire. And she's going to deposit into that business relationship equity account so that she can later withdraw and ask for the appointment. And we're going to go through some scripting towards the end. So stay tuned on how she asked for the business because I think it's really, really valuable for everyone. But I think we just have to realize, and I want to unpack this. I said this at Conversion Con, and I've said it multiple times in our organization. The quality of the lead is determined by the skill and the will of the agent. This is that on display. The majority of the appointments that she set weren't brand new leads, weren't, hey, I just registered. Hey, I'm like, sure, were there some? I'm sure. But she went digging for ones that maybe requested a home value 6 months ago, 12 months ago, that had already talked to someone that was in a stage that is quote unquote a dead stage. They're not looking. Well, are they not looking or did we just not have the right conversation? She was able to unpack that. And so I think there's a lot there. And when she says learning our systems, I think that's also probably what she means is she learned that there is a where to find the gold in our database and not make assumptions. Well, someone talked to them last week. So like we just have to be able to unpack that and overcome that. And I love that someone that's been on the team and been super successful like Jeanette, on the team for 3+ years and kills it every single year. She now sees the value in having a database and having these opportunities in something that most, even new agents, think is a waste of time, which is an archive pond. Like that's just, I hope you guys understand that there's a lot of value there. But if you're not finding value there, instead of pointing the finger, look in the mirror and say, like, here's the things I think Jeanette would probably look for in our data, how we work our database. Do we know their homeowner? Have they done some sort of homeowner activity? They have, and I know they own a home. Cool. They're worth a phone call. Like it's really probably that simple, right, Jeanette?
It is.
Right. And don't make assumptions because, and another saying that I say all the time is that I don't believe what people say, I believe what they do. And I believe that every homeowner, especially if they've requested a home value or they've requested a CMA or maybe even a homeowner that's looking as a buyer for other properties, there's value that we can provide as the agent from a how can we help you with your investment of a home perspective. But we discount that because we think our job is to gather them and have the conversation when they say, I'm ready to list tomorrow. And that's just not reality. Really good stuff. Cool. I want to unpack contribution a little bit. We kind of skipped past that. You had mentioned that you had observed another team member that had gotten recognized by his peers last quarter for being the team player, voted on by his peers for contribution, for giving back. And that's really where this challenge started for you. Why is that important to Jeanette?
I had the realization that I was just average on this team, um, which isn't a bad thing. Like our team, so many of our agents are just so spectacular and they do all of these great things. So that doesn't, I don't want that to discount me as a team member. But it, I just wanted to give back. Um, I had that aha moment of I don't want to just be the average agent on the team anymore. And I think that was huge for me.
I love it. I love it. And I want to unpack the type of person that Jeanette is. It started by I want to give back more. Not I want more for myself. I want to make more money. I want to do this. I want to beat these people. It's I want to give back more. I want to contribute more. And one of the things that's interesting is that one of the things we're going to talk about is this really, really crazy word in real estate. It's called accountability. And one of the things that happened in this throughout this journey for Jeanette was she made a public declaration. Other people on the team reached out and supported her to help hold her accountable, checking in, see where they were at. But also, she held everyone else accountable and she encouraged everyone else to rise to the occasion. And she got mentioned. We did our go to the board exercise, which is like, let's see where you're at the end of the year and where you're going to, what are your goals for 2025? We did that yesterday as we're recording this. And she got shouted out, I don't know, 8 or 9 times from our agents as a thank you for holding me accountable. Thank you for reaching out. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, that's how she's contributing. She's not the bad guy. There are people that maybe are mad at her in a moment for doing that because they know that I didn't show up today. It happens. But they're way more likely to show up tomorrow if they know Jeanette's rooting for her. And I think it's really important for us to understand, why don't we hold our peers accountable? I'm speaking to a team environment, right? But maybe why don't you hold yourself accountable? And so I think a lot of times we struggle to hold our peers accountable because we struggle with self accountability. And it's really hard to ask someone else to do something you're not doing yourself. And so if you're struggling with accountability in your life, I would encourage you to be accountable to yourself first. And then it's way easier to hold others accountable. Jeanette, having that pressure of you having conversations with other people, encouraging them and holding them accountable, did that help you in this process?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm reminding them of their goals and asking them, hey, did you meet your commitment for the day? I'm not going to miss mine. I'm not going to be that person that doesn't show up to my own commitments if I'm trying to help them hit theirs. It's just,
Do you guys hear the confidence in her voice when she said that? I want you to know her, like, if you're not watching on YouTube, her body language changed when she said that. Like, she felt that in her whole entire body. Like, that is real. And the only reason that I wanted to stop and point that out is because that's not just something that she says. Like, if she had not done that, this challenge may not have happened.
not successfully.
And it all started with, how can I help other people? It's crazy. I love it. Let's get tactical here. I want to talk about, you mentioned kind of scripting, right? And I don't want to go too much into scripting because I think a lot of people can get stuck on that. And I understand it's important, and it may be one of the most important things to understand this. But if you don't have the other stuff we talked about first, this doesn't matter. So there's that asterisk, right? We will go into this, but enter with caution. If you don't do this other shit that we talked about, this is not going to work, because this just gives you another excuse on, I need to learn these things before I do things. And we've already established you learn by doing. So anyway, I call this message to market match. Message to market match. And so when Jeanette went into this challenge, one of the things we've been really strategic on for the last year and a half or so is creating and converting our database, not just from a mostly buyers database, into how can we turn it into a seller database also. And it's been a very long, drawn out, time consuming process. But what it has created is it has now created different types of hand raisers and different types of seller opportunities in our database that require a different level of understanding, a different level of scripting, a different level of communication with different types of leads. And it's, I think, where people go wrong, if we're getting super specific here. But if your script has something to do with, are you ready to sell your house? You're missing the boat. They're not going to, if they're going to tell, if they tell you and they answer, you ask something like that and they say yes, like, you just got lucky, right? Like, that's just luck of the draw. Congratulations. You better go buy a lottery ticket. But the reality is, seller leads look like, do we know they own a home? And are they curious about something? Have they been curious about something over the last year? Let's start there. And so what type of different scripts did you kind of learn and understand? What type of different leads did you kind of try to master so you can have the right conversation with the right person during this process?
So on our team, we have the cash offers, we have the home value views, we have CMA requests. Leaning into those and just knowing the difference, you know which route to go.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a cash offer conversation with somebody who just viewed their home value. That's going to go absolutely nowhere. So just knowing the difference on those, focusing on having a real conversation. Focus on who they are, what's their goal, but also don't be afraid to ask for the appointment.
So let's go deeper on like the value part of the conversation first, and then I'm gonna go to the ask for the appointment because I think they're both crucial. What are some tactics or strategies you can give people to overcome that sales skepticism that we talked about, right? Let's say I'm a home value lead. What are some things that you can do to keep the conversation going? Because the longer the conversation goes, this sales skepticism, if it were a wall, starts lowering. What do you do to lower that wall?
Ask questions, get to know who they are. Just ask really good questions.
What are some of your go-to questions?
Where they're going, why. Um, those are probably the biggest two. They're in the dreaming stage right now.
Oh, there we go. That's what I was digging for.
So they're dreaming their story of where they're going, their why. To sell a home is going to be huge. So just dig into that. Ask really good questions around that.
Do you know why most of these seller leads don't tell you they want to sell their home? Because they're still dreaming about where they're going to go and they don't have a clear plan on that. If you become the resource and you educate and you inform them on the thing that they're excited about, not nervous about, now you become their trusted advisor. So it's so important to understand the psychology of humans. And if you don't understand how stressful it is to move, you probably need to go through a move yourself so you can understand it and then you can empathize with what they're going through. Number one. Number two, we are going with our intention, and I'm calling Jeanette as a lead because I want to list her house. But what Jeanette is doing is she's calling me as a lead because she sees that I own a home, because that's how we track our database now. And I'm looking at properties in this area. And so she's calling not with an agenda, she's calling with curiosity, which is why she said the key is asking great questions. The key isn't having a great sales script. The key is understanding where they are and leading them through a path of self discovery through great questions. And if they're in the dreaming phase, that's you can stay there all day long. And all you have to do is say one sentence with a question mark at the end, and they will just talk and talk and talk. And the cool part about that is the more that they talk, the better questions that you ask, the more comfortable they feel with who you are on the phone. Because instead of throwing up your agenda on them, you are actually being genuine and asking questions to too many of us ask questions to reply. We listen to reply instead of listen to understand. And if you don't understand their situation, you will never build trust and rapport, and you won't be able to guide them or lead them through this process. And so those are some tips to have great questions. Number one, great salespeople ask great questions. So figure out what questions you're asking. I don't care if it's on the phone or via text or via email. If you're sending text to follow up with leads and it doesn't end in a question mark, you're missing the boat. Too many salespeople they ask me all the time, what should I say? Number one, it's the wrong question. It's not about what you say, it's about what you ask. Ask better questions. Um, Next, I would like to go to, because we're running short on time here. I would like to go to how do you ask for the business? Right. And so one of the things that you had shared with me that you observed was you would go through and you would see and I love our agents and they're great. And hopefully this was a lesson that they can learn from. And maybe, hopefully it stung a little so they'll actually make a change and they'll use it to win next time. Right. That's how if you touch a hot stove, that's where you learn a lesson, right? So hopefully this is their hot stove moment. Is that they would have a conversation, and a lot of times it was a great conversation, but they did not set the appointment. And so Jeanette would go in and she would find that in the pond where someone else put it because it wasn't a good lead. And she would have a great conversation, and then she would set the appointment, and then she would list the property, and then it went under contract, and then she gets paid. Right? Like but the only thing that changed was Jeanette was the different person having a conversation with the same lead. Unpack some of that from your perspective a little.
So honestly, if especially when they are in the dreaming stage, they're still collecting data. It's never too early to meet.
Say that again. Say that again.
It is never too early to meet.
You guys should write that one down. You want a sales script for listings? That is the best transition to close that I've heard in the business. So many people get stuck on, I'm not going to meet with, they don't want to bother you and they don't know that you can provide them value because they're not ready to sell yet. It is, you have to say this over and over and over again. Jeanette, I completely understand, but it is never too early to meet with me. And then you can tie that to feel, felt, found, and you can tell a story. And now you're in the door with them. And then, Jeanette, once you're in the door with them, what's the magic that happens there?
Show up prepared. Um, for every appointment that I go on, I print out our worry free listing program. I print out the listing contract. Any document that they're going to sign when they do list their home, I'm taking that with me. Key tags, everything. And by doing that, typically you're going to leave with the keys. But just having everything together, being prepared, having your presentation with you, and showing what your team offers, that's a no-brainer. Make sure that you send the CMA same day. Like it's
It's so good. And I want to unpack this a little bit and then we got to wrap up here. It's like, so I want to give you guys some scripting and Jeanette, help me fill in the gaps here. So Jeanette, it's never too early to meet with me. I understand you don't know when you're going to sell. I understand completely how you feel. You know, Bob and Susie that we helped last week next door, they felt the exact same way. But here's what they found. They found that when they were able to meet with me, they were able to actually build a plan. They had a strategy. They understood the pricing. They understood their options. And now after we left that meeting, they understood more about the process and they had a clearer plan and clearer strategy of if or when they're ready to decide to sell their home, what exactly that process looks like, what they could expect, how long it may take, what is required of them. And also, we were helping them to build a plan and a strategy for their next position or next home that they were going to buy. And so, all I'm recommending, Jeanette, is just let you know you're not a bother to me. It is never too early to meet with me. But what I know is if I meet with you face to face, I can help you build a better strategy and a plan. And that's what's important to me. What works better for you tomorrow at 2 or 3? And if someone can give me pushback, and I've got it from agents, well, Matt, they're not even ready to sell their house. Get rid of your entitlement attitude, guys. If you are only going to work and meet with the people that say they're ready right now, you're not going to last in this business, and get the hell out of our way so we can go help serve people. Because
I actually
when you meet with that person that says they're not ready, and you go through the process that Jeanette just displayed, and you actually build a relationship and rapport with them, what you will unpack and discover is a lot of them are actually way closer than they even realize. They just don't even know where to start, and they need your help. They need your guidance and they need your leadership. So stop letting them down by letting your ego get in the way and say they're not worth my time. Sorry, I interrupted you, Jeanette. Go ahead.
oh no, selling is scary. Typically, once they meet, they're going to know their agent. Once they meet their agent, they're going to know. And once they do, they're not going to be scared anymore. It's going to turn into excitement. And even if their timeline is a little bit longer, once they meet with somebody, it's not going to be. They're more scared. They want to have a game plan
Yes.
before they do anything. Help them create that game plan.
Become an asset, not a liability. Why don't they want to talk to salespeople? Because salespeople just take, they got their hand out. So start giving, start contributing, give them value. The law of fair exchange comes into play. They will choose you, they will tell their friends about you, and your business will absolutely explode. You give just to give without the expectation of anything in return, and your business will change. And I say this all the time. Every homeowner is eventually a what?
Seller.
If you're a listing agent, if you're an agent that wants more listings and your goal is not to meet face to face with more homeowners, you've got the wrong damn goal. Stop trying to talk with people that are ready to list their house and talk with more people that own homes. That's the game. And I've seen it time and time again, whether it's expired, a FISBO, someone that says they're not ready for a year. You give me any objection, and I still push through and set the appointment, or Jeanette pushes through and sets the appointment, and then we take them through our process. Jeanette, what typically happens after you meet with them?
There's a good chance they're listing their home.
If not, they said 12 months, but now that you met with them, you realize it's actually 6.
Exactly.
The worst thing that happens after someone that you meet with that you maybe are very proactive with in a conversation because they're kind of hesitant to meet with you and you overcome that and you meet with them, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're now more educated, they're more informed, they understand the value you have to provide, and guess what they also have? They have friends and they will tell them all. If your value proposition stands out, if you built a relationship, if you provided value, because most agents and most salespeople take, don't give. Be a giver. And that one appointment could be the thing that changes everything. I still have one. I remember one listing appointment that I went on. They told me they did not want to sell. The real estate agents suck. It was the worst. And I was training a new agent at the time, so I had to just keep going. I think it was like 9 objections that I got. And like I'm on speaker and this new agent's like, I can't do this. I'm like, well, not everyone's this hard, right? But I'm at this point, like I'm hard headed and I'm trying to teach a lesson. And so I'm like, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna outscript me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I got this, right? So anyway, I overcome. I set the appointment. I walk in, and the very first thing they're like, well, what you got for me? You can't come in. I'm like, well, this is fun. And this agent's with me. So anyway, I push through, I get in, I tour the house, I go over the presentation. They have tears in their eyes. And they tell me, thank you for dealing with us. You are different. And I feel confident and I trust that you are the one that are going to help us and not take advantage of us like our last agents have. We need to sell this house. We're in a financial struggle. Can you please help? They would never sell their house. They'll never work with an agent. And that's an extreme circumstance. That's an extreme situation. I get it. But you just never know. And remove your ego out of the way and realize that you're serving a bigger purpose here. We are privileged and honored to help people with the biggest purchase or sale of their lives every single day. It's not about you. It's about them. And when you make that shift and everything you do is how can I help serve more people, your business will explode. Jeanette, final thoughts.
If you are wanting to level up your business, dive into this. Do the 30 listing appointments in 30 days.
Show up every day, time block, adjust your thermostat, make a commitment, a should versus a must. Is it a must or is it a should? Learn their systems, find the better opportunities, have the better conversations, build relationship, build rapport, ask better questions, and also don't be afraid to ask for the business. And a superpower in all this, contribute to your team members by holding them accountable. Contribute to others by helping them raise their standards alongside you, and it'll be the motivation that you need whenever you may be struggling on a day. I remember you had mentioned, Jeanette, there's team members that you had called out and helped and said, hey, where are you at in your commitments for the day? But also, there was a day, and I may get the story wrong, but there's a day that you were struggling and you had not set an appointment. It was just kind of down in the dumps and someone called you.
Yep. Kent would reach out. Hey, what are you doing today? Where are you at? Did you get your appointment? And I mean, if you know Kent, like just amazing, amazing team member.
Yep.
So I appreciated that so much because guess what I did? I got up, went to my office, and I set another listing appointment.
It was the spark you needed, right? I love it. Awesome. Well, Jeanette, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for providing the value and unpacking how you did this. I hope this inspires those of you that are listening to do something like this yourself. And I hope it shows and gives you that bar of belief that you can do it too. And I don't care if you're brand new, if your first day, your 10,000th day, it does not matter. You just got to adjust your mindset, make a shift, make a choice, and stay committed to it. Jeanette, thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. See ya.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.